Hi family, thanks for watching. So if you watched our last video, most of you will know what I'm about to cover regarding our potatoes. But since we spent a lot of time on these, I wanted to take this video to kind of unpack more of the techniques and strategies we use to grow our potatoes. And as luck would have it, I have now recorded the commentary for this video 3 times because the first time the video stopped working part way. The second time it was out of focus for the first half. So please, if you could do me a solid, please subscribe, like, comment in this video. We were really hoping to hit 500 this year just to see what it does. Put so much into this video and it's not going to be that good. But this video is going to be about how we finally got success with our potatoes, what the missing link was for that, as well as look at a few experiments we tried running this year with dirt quality, which produced some surprising results for us.
Out, out, out.
We've been growing potatoes for a few years now. I can't tell you specifically how long. I just remember the very first year that we did it. It was a very wet and rainy year, and that was extremely unusual for our area. It was more rain than we were accustomed to. And the reason that sticks out in my mind is because we kind of had a false understanding of how to grow potatoes, I guess is the best way to explain it.
Good thing we don't rely on our gardening skills for survival.
But basically, we got lucky the first year and then weren't able to repeat our result and kept thinking it was a watering issue or something. This year, we set out to try different experiments, and I think we finally cracked the problem. Now, to give a bit of context, we do grow in grow bags. That's mainly because we have a huge gopher and ground squirrel problem. If you've looked at previous videos of our garden, everything's grown in pots and containers and grow bags. The 2 4x4 that we built, we put wire mesh at the bottom of. And the galvanized tubs that we use are really the best for growing, but they're quite expensive. And so we try to save those for other crops. So for the grow bags that we bought from Smart Pot in bulk, we found that the 10 gallons to the 15 gallons work best because they give enough space for the potatoes plants to grow in, as well as they don't get too big and cumbersome to lift up. One of the greatest advantages of growing in containers, especially for like things like potatoes and carrots, is that you can then just pull up the whole container, dump it into a wheelbarrow or something, and sift through it to find your harvest without having to muck around in the dirt and accidentally leaving little golden nuggets behind. For that reason too, I also highly recommend getting the handles with your grow bags. Definitely worth the upgrade. You'll also see in the video that we put down these really high-tech, state-of-the-art discarded metal sheets below all of our bags, and that too is to just stop the gophers from being able to burrow up and chew on our bags. And I want to say that we've been using our bags for maybe 4 seasons now. I can't remember exactly, and they've held up pretty well. So unfortunately I ran out of seed potato starts, but I just went online to Gurney's and got some of your basic like Yukon Golds and red potatoes. I also started to learn a little bit about like fertilizers and learning about testing our dirt. And I'm not good at chemistry, so I'm still kind of understanding it. But basically, we learned that our dirt and our water especially is high in alkaline and low in phosphorus, which is a terrible combination because everything I can see that will raise the phosphorus will also raise the pH levels. So things like sulfur and whatnot will help me lower the pH, but considering that our water and everything else is going to be raising it, that'll always be kind of like a battle to keep in balance. But of course that too is a video for another day that as I learn more about, I'll definitely share our journey. In the meantime, I've been using bone meal fertilizer. And I wish this video could be like, here's the answers once and for all. This is the way everyone must do it. Because of course that would help me with the YouTube algorithm. But of course, true to our nature, what we got were more meh results, with one surprise that I will share towards the end. But the biggest thing we learned this year was keeping the potatoes in the shade. Now, what's funny is when I was doing research for the potatoes, you know how you get your AI search, and AI actually told me that potatoes typically produce smaller yields compared to those grown in full sun. But that we found to be complete garbage. But of course, we learned the hard way that no, they want the shade. In fact, you can tell right now because we just had a storm come through and it's nice and bright today and it's midday, but the platform behind me is in the shade. And it all probably relates to the fact that potatoes need like a lot of moisture and don't really like hot climates. However, we also learned from previous years that too much moisture can be a bad thing. We were growing them in the greenhouse the very first year that we had put the greenhouse up and hadn't quite resolved the issue of the greenhouse leaking. And so there was too much moisture in the greenhouse for those first couple months. And unfortunately, the potato plants molded and died. So as with all things, there's a certain balance point, and obviously where you live will play a factor into that. Where we are, we get about 16 hours of sunlight, and during the summers we can get up into the triple digits sometimes, which is about 42 degrees Celsius. Now in hindsight, I wasn't very scientific about this method of growing the potatoes up there to this year because I didn't have a control and I didn't leave a bag where I've left them growing in the past, which is usually right here where I'm sitting. Of course, I thought of that as I was making this video. I'll try to be a little more scientific in the future, just so that we can have more verified results and have a better understanding of what we're doing. One thing we've learned over the years with our gardening adventures is that what we think is common sense or intuitive isn't, if that makes sense. One classic example that comes to mind is the very first year we tried growing from seeds. We left little plastic domes on the trays that you get from the store, thinking that that was going to keep the plants warm and it'd be like a greenhouse effect. Not understanding that actually all it does is reduce the light to the plants and they get really long and stringy, and you're only supposed to leave the dome on until you see the little sprouts poke out. But these are things that in hindsight seem quite clear, but without any understanding or knowledge, let's just say we make plenty of mistakes. But hopefully by watching our videos, you won't have to make those same mistakes. You can go make your own new ones. One thing that we have been consistent about over the years, with our grow bags, we put about 4 seed starts per year. We also don't mix breeds because when you do that, you get kind of these hybrid potatoes. And the problem with those hybrid potatoes is they don't make good seed starts. If you're trying to be sustaining with your potatoes and regrow them again and again, keep the breeds separate. We tend to start with similar size. This one's ready to go into the ground right now. Got a nice good start on there. But we will get similar size seed starts to use for our garden. We've tried multiple growing methods. We've done the hilling method, which in a bag just means kind of once you see the plant poke through, just kind of adding more dirt until you reach the top. We've tried the straw method, which is just having about 4 inches of dirt at the bottom and then just filling everything up with straw. And we've also done the direct into ground method. With the direct into ground, you pretty much set it and forget it, and then you get beautiful potato plants later down the road. We've never had an issue without a plant figuring out its way to the top without sprouting, essentially. We've had an issue with the plant that has no potatoes on it, but we get plants. But yeah, for us, the winner is direct in ground, especially because we're using the bag or container method. Another test I ran this year, obviously besides, putting them in the shade, was trying to tell the difference of quality of dirt. So essentially I had half the potatoes in like pure potting soil with your like premium G&H organic pH balanced dirt, and threw fertilizer in there and let those run wild. And then we had our dirt with fertilizer and just maybe some used potting soil from previous years mixed together and thrown into those bags and left them be. And what really amazed us was that actually the kind of garbage dirt, for lack of a better term, produced I think, bigger and healthier looking potatoes and a higher yield than actually the potting soil. So maybe there's something to like potatoes liking denser dirt or something. I also tried like measuring like where the fertilizer would go for maximum effect, like either in the middle, just above the seed starts, or at the top. Unfortunately, the results on that were kind of inconclusive, so I may have to do more tests in the future. And next time I think we'll try those like really tiny little potatoes that are like okay for stews and throw those in a bag and see if they produce a healthy yield. Logic tells me that the really tiny seed starts wouldn't necessarily produce larger potatoes, but you know, let's try it. I know I've seen videos where they'll try changing like the direction of the tube. I don't think that would be helpful, honestly. But I mean, if you think of an experiment that we should try, let us know. In fact, if you know a better way that we should be doing this, by all means, please do enlighten us, because we're kind of just fumbling along and figuring things out as we go. I just want to say thanks for watching and happy growing.
That's good.